Number two, myth number two, a revocable living trust avoids a probate. Well, is that true? It's supposed to be true. That's the whole reason that you would have what we call a revocable living trust estate planning platform, is because you do not want to have a probate. On your death, you want things to go without the need for anything to be filed with a court, no probate, and on your death, all your assets go where you want them to go, where your revocable living trust says they should go. That's the beauty of a revocable living trust. In practice, what do we see actually happening is that people will have a revocable living trust, but they don't understand it and they don't know what is required of them to make the revocable living trust work. And candidly, when you meet with your estate planning lawyer, I'm assuming that you're not doing it on your own. If you're doing it on your own, then it is not likely to be successful. So I'm going to assume that you have an attorney you're working with and they've recommended for you a revocable living trust. And you meet with the lawyer and you think you understand it. It made sense. They told you that if you have a revocable living trust, it will avoid probate. And hopefully they took more time and described for you that in order for your revocable living trust to work, you have to fund that trust. By funding that trust, what that means is you need to retitle all of your bank accounts, for example, into the name of the trust. Your investment accounts have to be retitled into the name of the trust. Your life insurance may be in the trust or it may be outside the trust. Your 401k and your IRA, your retirement accounts, cannot be named in your revocable living trust because of restrictions that accompany those types of accounts. So, okay, so here's our first, oh, I'm confused. I thought my trust handled everything. Well, it doesn't handle your 401k. What are you going to do? Your lawyer should explain to you your 401k should pay by way of what's called a beneficiary designation, and it should pay to those people that you want to receive that asset from you. So here's another step. Understanding your revocable living trust is that not all your assets can be in your trust. I haven't mentioned yet your house. If you're doing your own revocable living trust, you also need to be doing your own deed that puts your house from your personal name into the trust name. And a lot of people don't do that. Even if you're working with a lawyer, I've sometimes seen that the lawyer doesn't help with the funding of the trust, and that creates a major problem. Why is that? If the asset is not titled in the name of the trust does not govern that asset. So then what happens on your death? Well, if you have a revocable living trust, you've seen that you also have a will. Sometimes it's called a pour-over will. Why is it called that? Because it is intended to capture all the assets you forgot or couldn't put in your trust and pour over those assets into your trust upon your death. How does that work? How does it pour over? That will is actually filed with a court in the county usually the county where you lived in before your death. And the court takes a look at that will and says that looks like a fine will, and your executor is appointed, your personal representative, and there's a probate process, a probate to capture your house so that your executor can then take and deed that house into the name of the trust. So not only did you end up with a trust administration that your successor trustee needed to handle all the work of administering your estate after your death, you also ended up with a probate in addition to that. The whole goal of having the revocable living trust was to avoid probate. But because people don't understand the work that goes with a revocable living trust, and this is more common than not, they don't title all their assets into the name of the trust. And as a result, there will need to be a probate or some probate alternative plus a trust administration. So even though it sounds really good to have a revocable living trust to avoid probate, keep in mind that there is ongoing work that must be done. First of all, you need to understand what you need to do with regard to the trust and how to fund it. And then if you get more assets throughout your life, or you change banks or in different investment accounts, they have to be put into that trust as well. You change, you sell your house, you buy a new house, it needs to be put into the name of the trust. This isn't necessarily difficult. It just is ongoing required maintenance if you have a revocable living trust. So I can tell you that more often than not, and I don't know, nationwide what the statistics are on how often do revocable living trusts end up having to be probated, but in our practice here at ELG Estate Planning, we see it a lot. And from that experience, I can tell you that people simply don't understand their trusts, that when, this is what I would say. If you are working with an attorney to create your revocable living trust, take time and ask them questions. Ask them, will you be giving me guidance? They probably won't go to the bank with you, the lawyer, but they should do a deed on your house to put it into the trust. And then ask them, can I come back and talk with you? And are you going to charge me every time I talk with you? Every lawyer is going to have a different answer. But what you want to know is that you have a relationship with that attorney so that whenever you have questions about whatever your estate plan is, a will-based platform or a trust-based platform, that you can go see them. They will be there for you, because the only way any estate plan works is if you understand it and you have the support of your attorney as the years go by. And whenever something changes in your life, you can go back to that attorney and they'll help you. So that was number 2 myth. Revocable living trusts avoid probate. Yes, they are intended to do so, but frequently, no, they don't. You have a probate plus a trust administration.